करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Okay, so yesterday we started with discussing what this grantha is talking about, Tattva, the reality of Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, and how first the text started unfolding the Tvam Pada, what is Jiva, by analysis of what is Atma and what is Anatma. So that is where we were yesterday. We started looking into the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, the preparation of mind, which is required to understand this reality. There is a certain preparedness of mind which is required to understand this subtle reality about everything. So that is what we went through. And then we started with Atma kaha and Tattvabodha kaha Atma satyam tadanyat sarvam mithya iti. And then, okay, what is this Atma? So that part we were looking, it is Stula Sukshma Karana Sharira Vyatirikta, different from this gross body, subtle body, causal body, and Panchakosha Atitaha. It transcends, Atitaha is transcends the Panchakosha, which are identified as Annamaya, Manomaya, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. And then the third one was Avastha Traya Sakshi. It is the witness of all this Avastha that we experience, in which all our experiences are experienced. So the first three part discusses the negation. What are we not? Anatma. And then it talks about what are we? We are Satchidananda Swarupa. So this part we were looking yesterday. And then we covered what is Thula Shariram, Panchikruta Mahabhutaihi, composed of the Pancha Mahabhuta. It is the abode, it is the house where we experience all the experiences of Sukha, Dukha, etc. And it is a gross body which is subject to Asti, Jayate, Vardate, all the changes. Where does that happen? It happens in Stula Sharira that we saw yesterday. And we came to Sukshma Sharira. What is that? That is also Panch Mahabhuta, 5 elements, but that is in its subtle form, not grossified. And what was the important element we saw? It is the Bhoga Sadhanam. It is the instrument through which we experience all the experiences. Gross body is the abode. This is where I experience everything. Whereas Sukshma Sharira is the subtle body. It is not visible through our organs of perception. It is the instrument through which we experience these experiences. Then the details of what all the Sukshma Sharir is composed of: the organ of perception, the organ of action, the 5 prana. So 5 prana includes all the physiological, all that is responsible for our physiological functions. And then Manaha and Buddhi, mind and intellect. So we talked how mind and intellect within this Sukshma Sharira, subtle body, is the Antahakaran, is the inner instrument, and all the rest of the 15 are the Bahya Karanam, or external means or external instrument. external means and internal means. Then we went to, so I'm not going to go over everything because we just covered it yesterday. So then we came to Karan Shariram. What is Karan Shariram? It is the seed, it is the cause for both the gross body and subtle body. But no, let me frame it again. What is Karan Shariram? Avidya. Ignorance is Karan Shariram. What is causal body? Ignorance. How is this ignorance? Anirvachya. Anirvachya. Anirvachyan. Anirvachya. This ignorance is anirvachya, meaning you cannot define it that this is what it is. You can't define this is what it is or this is how it is not. You can't define it is. You can't define it is not. Why can't you define it is? Because it is subject to negation. When knowledge happens, when in the wake of light, darkness goes. Like that, when to the one to whom knowledge happens, to the wise person, there is no ignorance. So it is subject to elimination. So you can't say it is there, meaning it is not always there. So is it not there? We can't even say that because we are experiencing it. In our life, we are experiencing this avidya, this ignorance, and the effects of ignorance. So we can't say it is, we can't say it is not. So that is why it is called anirvachya. We cannot define it. And Swamiji says this very beautifully, that anything you take in this world, nothing can be explained. So everything is in the realm of this avidya. You can't define anything in the world as this is or it is not. So that is anirvachya. That is what is meant by anirvachya. And this ignorance itself is the cause of the gross body and the subtle body. So right now we'll just understand it as this, that it is cause. I don't know if in your notes, Rachita ji or anybody else, if you had more to add regarding how it was the cause.
Is this what we call Jiva? Jivatma?
The Karan Sharira?
It's not.
Ignorance, the self identified with Karan Sharira is Jiva. See, because what are we doing right now? Atma, we said, Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira, Atirikta, Bhinnam. So we identified self as different from all these Sharira. So what are we doing right now? Okay, we are different from this. So what exactly is this Karan Sharira? This is ignorance. So this Karan Sharira itself is not Jiva to say, but the self identified with Karan Sharira. The self that thinks that I am Karan Sharira, I am ignorant. What is Karan Sharira? Karan Sharira is basically ignorance. So when I think I am ignorant, that is the basis for all the problems.
It is not a real body, right? It's
No.
It is not a tangible thing. It is not like a body. But why is it called Sharira then? It is subject to destruction.
destruction,
Like darkness is subject to removal when you show a torchlight. Just like that, this ignorance can be removed by what? By knowledge alone. And so in that sense, it is called Sharira. It is not like the other gross body and subtle body where there is actual disintegration. The gross body, we know it dies. It disintegrates. We know that. Subtle body also, in the wake of knowledge, in the wise person, after the Videha Mukti, etc., the subtle body also disintegrates, meaning it merges into its all the five elements. So there is an actual Sharira to talk about. Here there is no Sharira to talk about. It is just said Sharira because it is subject to removal, elimination, permanent removal. in that sense. So Karan Sharira is just ignorance, plain ignorance. What does it do? Satya Swarupa, I, who is of the nature of truth, of reality, what it does, it covers my reality. This is what ignorance does. It veils my true nature. And then it projects what I'm not. Just like uh, the true nature of rope is veiled, and then there is a projection of snake, something of that sort. Um,
Okay.
if anybody needs more clarification, write down, and if needed, we will compile it in our question. If there is more clarification needed, just I wanted
Is
to
the
say, yes.
one point? Is
Yes.
the current Sharira is designated as self with a small s?
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's what I was thinking too. The small s is the jiva, right? Small
What
self.
small s?
Swamiji was saying uppercase SELF is like the Atma, like Paramatma, right? Or Brahman. And the Jivatma is like the smaller, lower letter SELF. So that's what.
Okay. So I will. You both can discuss because I have missed that lecture. So you both can. So okay, what did Swamiji say? I still have to review that lecture. So one self is the bigger S. That's what is it? So that is
Yeah.
pure Atma. That is your
Yeah.
pure consciousness.
Yeah.
And then the other self Swamiji was talking about was small s.
Yeah, small self. And because there is an ignorance, when ignorance is removed, it is the same as the self.
Right.
I.
But it is always the true self. Like there is a connection in between. It is not an independent thing. The jiva is
Yeah.
not independent of the self. So again, you can't explain it exactly. That this is exactly how, because it is like the sun. Let us say the sun is the Atma, the true Atma, pure consciousness. It is looking at its reflection in a bucket of water, and it is looking at that limited image, and it is just thinking, this is how much I am. So sun looking at that limited reflection thinks, I am this sun. So it is something of that sort. When sun doesn't know that I am not this reflection and takes it to be just as much as this limited body, that is ignorance. Two things are happening.
Here Swamiji gave this example of rope and snake also, saying that we take the snake to be a rope to be a snake, like current Sharira thinks that the Kastula and Sukshma Sharira is itself, but it is not so. When the darkness is dispelled by knowledge or light, then it is the same as self, but it is having this misconception. That is why ignorance.
Right. And that is also right. Only problem with the rope snake example is how are you going to, because I am the one who is doing all this. I am the one who is ignorant. I am the one who is projecting. So sometimes that example becomes difficult to orient, because rope is the one, in that rope snake example, it is the rope who is ignorant about itself, and it thinks it is a snake. That is hard to imagine. That is why I gave this example. But the whole thing, it's right. What we have to understand is the same thing. But sometimes we think of, okay, rope snake. So that is rope, that is snake. So we try to dissociate about everything. But this here, I am the problem. I am the pure consciousness, and I am ignorant about myself, and then I am projecting this limitedness upon myself. So how to understand this? So again, an example which is not complete in its all dimensions, but just gives
When
us
I think
some.
about myself as limited, that time only ego is functioning, right? That is not the big self, you know. So it's like
Without the
we
big
are in the
self,
ego mode.
without the big self, you can't identify at all with anything.
Yeah, we know that no, we are not an independent. It's not an independent entity. It depends on Atma. We know that, but again, the ego is thinking that it is it's limited and all. So it's once we
Under
get rid of,
whose power? Under
yeah,
whose
it is
power?
it's Atmas, you know, or Brahmans, you know.
So who is thinking it is limited?
But self cannot think that it is limited, right? That's what its confusion is.
Right. So you can ego think?
Ego is thinking using Atma's power, but it is still, you know, the ego is the one thinking wrongly.
But does ego have that power?
No, it doesn't have its own power, but it is using the power of Atman.
How?
That's because of the reflection, right?
You can pose a question. This can be one of our question to Swamiji. Go on. So some things it may be this anirvachya. That I think that is how Swamiji will frame it. But let us frame that question. You can frame that question, and we can include that in our satsang, so that Swamiji can handle it in a better way. But the answer will come out to when it comes to anything, when we try to figure out who is the karta. Atma is not the karta. This buddhi, intellect, mind, even in the Upanishads, when we will see, all these are inert. They cannot act on themselves. Who is the karta? Ego, we say. Ego is not a tangible entity. What is ego? Can you pick? This is ego. Ego is not a tangible entity. It is the unholy wedlock which we call ahankara. What is the unholy wedlock between one reality and the other reality? So nothing can be explained. Who is the karta? So when we listen to this shastra, uh, when in the wake of knowledge, the wise doesn't see anything happening, that akarta, akatrutvam, that is pointed in Bhagavad Gita. Even while doing, he sees, I am akarta. How? So anyways, I don't want to confuse everybody and go. I think we should pose this question to Swamiji.
No, but the point is, once we have the knowledge, everything is clear. We know that Atma doesn't do anything, but everything functions because of Atma. But for the people who is a seeker, you know, the thing is like, you know, we understand that, you know, ego is the one doing it. It's we
So a
understand, we
real
take that as an
entity.
entity.
Is ego a real entity?
It's not a real entity. We know that it's right now. It's a between Atma and Anatma that bandha is happening. Right, the knot is there. That's why it's doing all those things. But at least we are still in that state, right? We are not jnanis, so still that is continuing. That's the point. Okay, we can
Yeah, no, that yeah. Anyways, we'll park it aside and we will move on. You can frame a question if we need a clarification in this area. We will come back to this question, or perhaps once we go to the next sections, because I want to complete at least the Jagata, and I want to review the Jiva part with reference to Jagat as well. So let's move a little bit. So we reviewed yesterday this Karan Sharira, which is basically ignorance. Let us just take it. Karan Shariram is ignorance. It is anirvachya. It cannot be defined as it is this or it is that, meaning it is or it is not. And it is the seed or cause for the gross body and subtle body. Then we looked into Avastha Traya. Yes, we looked into this, right? Yesterday. Yes. So the three states, which is waking, dream, and deep sleep. So we define how in waking there is a connection between the organ of perception and the objects, external objects, and that is how knowledge takes place. And in waking, there is predominantly identification. Self identifies with the gross body, that is the waker. That is what we call waker or Vishwa. Now, in this waking state, we also have this subtle body is also present. It is not that only gross body is present, subtle body is also present, and causal body is also present. That was the important emphasis that we made yesterday. And then Swapna Avastha, what is dream state? It is where one experiences not based on external objects, but it is mind's own creation. It is its own projection based on what? Jagrat avasthayam yad drishtam yad shrutam tad janita vasanaya. The vasanaya, the tendencies, the impressions that were formed from the waking that are carried forward, and that alone becomes the material or the cause for the particular projection in the dream. So that is dream. And how did we distinguish it? It is self here in dream state is identified with Sukshma Sharira, subtle body, and so it is called dreamer or Taijasa. Again, in dream state, gross body is not there, only subtle body is there, causal body is there. So, and then the last was Sushupti Avastha Ka. So, where I don't know anything, meaning I'm not conscious of anything. There is no object of consciousness. Consciousness is there, but there's no object of consciousness. And then Sukhena Maya Nidra Anubhuyate. I have this experience that I slept happily. That experience of happiness, Ananda, is there in Sushupti. So these were the two main elements that we were told here. So what is Sushupti? Karana Sharira Abhimani Atma. The self which is identified with Karana Sharira is called Prajna. Why Karana Sharira? So in deep sleep, we are one with our true nature. However, we don't know that I am that Ananda. We don't know at the time of that sleep. It's only after waking up that we recall our experience. We have this smriti, and on the basis of that, we infer that yes, I had a good sleep, or I was happy in my sleep. So that is why there is a blanket of karana sharira, meaning ignorance, in deep sleep. So it's a causal state. So then
I have a question here. Just quick question. For the Jagrat Avastha, Jnani and Ajnani is different because Jnani knows that Jagat is not real. So his vision is different, completely different. But in Swapna and Sushupti Avastha, is it the same for Jnani and Ajnani or is it different?
how is it different in Jagrat Avastha for
Because
Jnani
he
and
knows
Ajnani?
everything is he knows only Brahman is real, and everything he sees everything as Brahman. Jagrat, I mean Jagat and everything is unreal. Jnani knows that, but don't know that. So that way it is
We'll
different.
but what do we call Jagrat Avastha?
Does that mean like waking state?
So Jagrat Avastha is waking state. So what did we say? Jagrat Avastha is where we have experiences based on what? Jagrat Avastha is the Avastha, the state where we have experiences based on the organs of perception and the corresponding objects. So there is a contact between the external objects and the organ of perception. Now, this happens in Ajnani. Does that happen in Gnani?
Yes.
It
Yeah,
will
he
happen.
experiences, but he doesn't take it to be real.
Yes. Why? So he has the understanding. So the change is in the understanding, not in the perception.
Yes.
So then that is same, right? In Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha. Swapna Avastha, even Agnani doesn't take it as real.
Yeah. So that is why I'm asking. So only in the waking state, there is a difference. In the dream state and deep sleep state, there is no difference. It's the same for Jnani and Ajnani. That was my question.
Yeah,
I
because
think
waking.
I think Prachiji is saying that even in Jagrat, Gnani and Agnani are perceiving the outer world the same way. Like the
Yeah, I
perception is there.
understand that. Understanding, there is a difference in understanding only. Jnani knows in understanding that it is not real. So my question is, so in this Sushupti Avastha, it is the same, right? Because both are sleeping and both have ignorance also. That was my question. Because Jnani has the ignorance in sleep and Ajnani has ignorance in sleep, right?
Right.
I have something to say here.
Yes.
Actually, when you call somebody Jnani, finally he is the Tattvamasi. He
Yeah.
himself is a god. So his perception of Jnanendriya, Karmendriya is not the same as any other person. So because
The waking
he
state.
in the
In the
waking
waking,
state, and
yes.
in the sleep state, experience is caused based on the perception of the waking state. So the perception of the Jnani or God himself is not the same because he knows the truth. So his perception is different. So his sleep state is also will be different. It cannot be the same as a person who takes this body and mind to be real, and then he perceives
No.
the Jnana and the Karmendriya. His perception is different. Whereas God's perception and a Jnani is equal to God, Tattvamasi. So his perception is different. So it will be different. It has to be different.
No, we are not saying Gnani is God.
No, eventually Tattvamasi means we are all God. We are no different from God. That's
No,
the
we are not saying
Advaita
we are Ishvara.
starts from there, ends there.
No, we are not saying we are Ishvara. We are
No,
saying we
but
are
when we say
Brahman.
Tattvamasi, what we mean is that only, that is the truth which you have to know. Once we know, then we are liberated. Then there's nothing more except not doing our duty.
No, we are not saying we are Ishvara. We are saying the truth of Ishvara and the truth of Jiva is one alone.
Yeah,
So
we
for
do not
even
say
Gnani is not Sarvagnya. Gnani will not know everything.
Sarvajna is something, but the only thing is that the truth, when he knows the truth, then there's a difference of his perception from everything.
Is different.
So
That is agreed.
So his sleep state will be much too different. For example, Puja Guruji is there, Swamiji is there. His deep state will be different than from all of us because he or any of our great gurus, we say, their perception of the world is different.
See, there is no problem in dream state and in deep state to begin with, even in our ignorant state. One of the Upanishads says in deep sleep, when when a king is sleeping and when a beggar is sleeping and even a lion is sleeping, is the sleep of a king different from a sleep of a beggar, different from sleep of a lion or any sentient being? No, it is not. Why? Because in sleep, in deep sleep, what happens? We said, what is Swapna, Sushupti Avastha? Aham kimapi na janapi. I am not conscious of anything. So that is true of a king, that is true of a beggar, that is true of any animal as well. And sukhena maya nidra anubhuyate. I experience happiness. So each of these experience happiness alone, meaning they are just one with themselves. What happens in deep sleep? There is no mind. So all the conflicts with the mind, they are not present. So that holds true for all of them, the king and beggar. So is the sleep of a king different from a sleep of a beggar? So then can the sleep of a gnani be different from an ignorant one?
No, it looks the same. Yeah, it is same for both of them.
Right. And then in the dream, um, so it's not exactly all these states we analyze to understand some aspect of um, our true nature and not to get stuck in those states, because all of these are roles ultimately. Like what we said yesterday, there is a woman whose one of the roles is wife, the other role is mother, the other role is daughter. So what do we want to get at? We are negating. What are we doing right now? We are trying. So we should always try to understand what our goal is. We are trying to understand what Atma is. So how is the author proceeding? He is proceeding by showing us what Atma is not. So I want to say you are a woman. For that, I am telling somebody you are not a wife, you are not a mother, you are not a daughter. So my goal is in dropping all those notions so that the real you can be discovered, can be identified. That's all this avastha traya is about. But then sometimes these Upanishads does take these avastha for further analysis of how swapna avastha can be basis of proving that what is jagrata, what is waking, is also projection. So that way these come into play. Right now we are just, what this author is doing right now is just negating that these are roles. Waker is a role, dreamer is a role, sleeper is a role. How am I different from everybody? Because am I aware of these roles? So yesterday we looked into this Druk Drushya Vivek concept, that the principle of negation in this grantha, what is it? That the seer is different from the seen. Whatever is seen, I am see. There is a phone in my hand. What is it? It is an object of seeing. It is seen. Who sees? I. I see. I am the seer. So seer, I am different from this object seen. So this is the principle. So here it is very simple, but now I have to apply it here. This gross body, do I experience it? Do I feel it? Yes. Whatever I am aware of, that is object of seeing, that is seen. And because it is experienced, meaning there is somebody else who is experiencing it. That somebody else is the seer, that somebody else is Atma, what I call Atma. So, okay, so gross body, it is clear, fine. Now, Sukshma Sharir, mind. Do I experience mind? What is mind? Thoughts. Do I know my thoughts? When there is anger, do I know I am angry? Do I know there is anger coming? When there is happiness, do I know? So that way, all my thoughts also become what? Object of seeing. Who am I? I am different from them. Why? Because those thoughts come and go. There are different thoughts. Does the thought stay same? Does the thought of anger stay 24/7, 365 days? It comes and then it is interrupted by another thought. So we see that there is so much flow of the thoughts, but there is somebody who is able to see all the thoughts and who is different from those thoughts. So that way, by this Drishya Vivek, by this philosophy of seer is different from seen, and this is a golden rule which was also pointed in our retreat today, that the seer is different from seen. By this rule, we have negated so far that I am not gross body, I am not subtle body, I am not causal body. How did we negate causal body? We are not conscious there. How did we negate causal body? Because when we wake up, do we remember that, yes, I had a nice sleep. I was not conscious of everything. Meaning, yes, I am able to see, I had experience. There was the experience there as well. And so based on my waking up from the deep sleep, I have that memory. And based on that memory, I infer that the seer is different. There is no scene basically in deep sleep. There is no scene, right? We are not conscious of anything because mind is not there. But the seer remains. The content of the seer, which is consciousness, remains. So this is the whole point of this nisheda prakriya, that this I am not. Waking I am not. Deep dreamer I am not. Sleeper I am not. I am the one in all of them, and yet I am different from them. That is what the author wants to show us, that I am the one in all of them, and yet I am different from them. So right now, the way it is said is, I am just different from them. It is step one. See, right now, here in my personality, there is a khichdi. So at a time, if we try to solve the equation, it is not going to be solved. So we have to separate the rice from the dal. That is all that is being done. You are not Sthula Sharir, you are not Sukshma Sharir, you are not Karan Sharir. What remains? What remains is you, unchanging you, consciousness. So when we do this exercise, we listen to this, the lectures. But as we do this, okay, if I'm not Sthula Sharir, meaning I'm not 5 feet 2 inches. If I'm not Sukshma Sharir, I'm not mind, and I'm whatever happens to mind, that doesn't belong to me. If I'm not buddhi, intellect, whatever I have been boasting that, look, I am an engineer, I'm a botanist, I'm so and so, that doesn't belong to me. Who am I? I negate all that. What remains? What remains is you. That is what the author is trying to do. So this is Tvam Pada Shodhanam. So Tvam Pada has a Vachyartha when you say you. When somebody say Prachi, then what is my concept of Prachi? Prachi is this gross body, subtle body, and causal body. That causal body, I may not know what exactly causal body is, but all my notions about me, who I am, that is causal body, which is not exactly real. So that alone is being negated slowly. And when this notion about me, that I am gross body, is negated. So I have to, when I'm said gross body, I'm not. Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira, Vyatirikta, right? Vyatirikta. So what is gross body? This is gross body. Okay, so that I'm not. So I have to do that. I have to do the process simultaneously. When I'm told I'm gross body, I'm not gross body. Okay, I'm not 5 feet 7 inches or whatever. I'm not subtle body. Okay, I am not subtle body. I am not mind, meaning I am not whatever I experience through mind, that is not I. So slowly and slowly we try to negate, and whatever is left, that is I. That is what this Nisheda Prakriya is trying to do. But what happens when we are trying to do this? How do we feel? We feel that, okay, right now I am so much. And then as I am trying to negate all this, I become smaller and smaller and smaller, as if I'm nothing. This is the feeling I'm getting, that as if I'm shrinking. So then, in last, it is going to say what? After Panchakosha, etc., all this thing, Atma Tarhi Kaha. So far negation. Shariratraya Viveka, Avastatraya Viveka, Panchakosha. So far negation. What am I not? So far it was that shrinking process. So am I not? So then Atma Tarhi Kaha Satchidananda Swarupaha. No, I am there. What is my reality? Sat Chit Anand. This is my reality. What am I? Existence. What kind of existence? Sat Kim? Kalatrepi Tishtati. That existence which is not subject to going and coming. It is not incidental. Like this Tula Sharira, which is subject to grow all the changes. It is subject to birth, it is subject to vruddhi, transformation, degradation, decay, and death. All this belongs to where? Gross body. So it is subject to change. That is not Satyam. What is Sat? Kalatrepi Tishtati. In all time, it remains, it is always there. In fact, it is beyond space and time. That is what it wants to convey. But how will it convey? The way we understand. So, in all the time, it is there, meaning it is not subject to change. Chit, is it inert? Stone is always there. Is it like that? Like a stone? No, it is consciousness. It is very much aware of its existence. And okay, Sat and Chit and fine. That's pretty bland. So it adds. No, it is Anand. It is the very happiness. It is limitless. So that is how we are shown our our reality is unfolded. Too many questions, too many theories.
Say that again.
So
No,
Sat
what did you say just now? Last sentence. We could not hear.
is it too much at a time?
No, it was okay.
But no, so I just want everybody to understand the process, like what the author is trying to do by Atma and Atma Viveka. So first of all, yes, we do understand to do the nisheda of Sthula Sharir, we need to understand Sthula Sharir. Then we can do the negation, right? So that is why there is a definition of what exactly Sthula Sharir is, what exactly subtle body is, and what are the characteristics of subtle body. Then we also have to understand that. So that is why the definition of each of them, and we understand it and we let go it. We understand one thing and let go it. And this is very basic fundamental text where we get all the definitions, because we will in all the Upanishads these terminology will be used: Sukshma Sharir, Karana Sharir, etc. So there we will need to be very clear. So that is why this also forms definition in itself. And it is also prakriya, that what is Atma, then Vyatirikta, Stula, Sukshma, Karan, Sharir, Vyatirikta. You negate, you identify what is Stula, Sukshma, Karan, you identify what is the Avastha. Those are the different roles that I play, the different roles that Amitabh Bachchan plays. It's not Bachchan, it is the different role that the actor plays. So we identify that and we let go of it. We don't hang on to it as if that is my ultimate reality. We let go of it. And then after the negation process, as we see ourselves shrinking, am I left or is it shunya? I don't find anything. I find as if I'm not. So what do I do? Now I feel while your Atma and Atma Viveka, I feel like at least I was existing before, at least in this body. Now I feel I'm not existing at all. What do I do? So author says, no. You are Sat Chidananda. You are Sat Kalatrepi Tishtati. You are Chit. You are consciousness. You are Jnana Swarupa and you are Ananda Sukha Swarupa. Ultimately, we have to understand this Sat itself is Chit, itself is Anand. That the Upanishads will do in greater detail. Right now, we just understand that yes, when we negate all this, let us say when we are doing meditation and there are no thoughts, do we know I am? Even right now, when you are listening, do you know you are?
Yes.
So what is that? Sat. You are. You are. How do you know you are? So that is Chit. You don't have to show like a lamp to, I am, just because. What do you mean by how do you know you are? I know, you know. So it is self-effulgent. Self is this term we use often, right? Atma is swaprakasha. That is the word used, which is self-effulgent. So in elsewhere, there is a analogy given that if I have a lamp in my hand, uh, do I need another lamp to illuminate? No. Why? Because that is effulgent, self-effulgent. I don't need a second lamp to light already lit lamp. In a dark room, let us say there is a lamp, the diya, and on it there is a pot. It is covered with a pot. So then what will I need to do? The room is dark. So I will need to, I guess, okay, wrong. The room is dark, but there is a lamp inside. It is covered with pot. When I uncover the pot, will I need to light the room? No. Confusing. Okay.
No.
Forget about the example. But what I just want to get at is Sat Chit Anand is our Swarupa. Even right now, nobody needs to tell me Rachita ji is. How can I prove it? By what means do I prove that Rachita ji is? Does somebody have to prove that Rachita ji is? To tell Rachita ji that you are? Or does she know by herself?
She knows by herself.
Knows by herself. So Sat and Chit always goes together. Asti and Bhati. I know I am and I'm conscious that I am. That always goes together. Asti and Bhati. I am and I'm conscious that I am. So that is not subject to contention, usually. Stone. Even in something like inert, like this phone, will I say the phone is?
Yes.
Yes. The phone is. Because I see it. But phone is. How do I say the phone is?
Because you
Because it
perceive
shines.
it.
You perceive it and it shines. Both the answers is correct. The phone is because the phone shines that yes, I am. I am. So it's not that I am is some other aspect and I shine is a different aspect. Whatever is always shines. So it is a connect. It's something that cannot be separated. I am and I shine. So Sat aspect and Chit aspect, they cannot be separated. If this is confusing, we can write a question regarding this. But anyhow, we right now, I don't know in the lecture if you go in the notes, did Swamiji address the Satchit Anand aspect? We treat it like Sat Chit Anand is my Swarupa, is my nature. Ultimately, we have to understand Sat alone is Chit Chit alone is Ananda. For now, we just take this as our reality. But we can go back into our lecture notes and see how Swamiji has addressed. So what is Chit? Consciousness, Jnana Swarupa, knowledge.
Yeah, he mentioned that it's not the knowledge of things, it's not the knowledge of anything, it's just knowledge.
Yes. Not consciousness of consciousness.
Huh.
For that, you come back to the deep sleep example. So, what happens in deep sleep? You are not conscious of something, but consciousness is there. Why do we say I don't see anything? Because there are no objects, so I'm not conscious of anything. So, I feel as if consciousness is not there, but that's not right. Consciousness is there, but I'm not conscious of something.
Right.
Right?
It's unqualified consciousness, no qualification, not
Unqualified.
conscious of something. Yeah.
Qualified consciousness and unqualified consciousness. Yes. Anything else? Did he connect Sat and Chit? That Sat is always Chit. Usually that is connected.
I
But
don't
it is
think
okay. All we need to understand right now is Atma is defined as Sat Chit Anand. That connection, the Upanishads, etc., will show us in detail, like as we move forward. But what we need to know right now is in this, what we call Prachi, I have to remove all these layers, different layers. And these layers are, let us call these are layers right now, for right now. So we have to remove these layers called gross body, subtle body, causal body. Then all the experiences that I gain through it, through the different avastha, as waker, as dreamer, as sleeper, whatever I experience, I negate that. And the Panchakosha, right? That is what we saw yesterday. Panchakosha, the Annamaya, gross body, the Pranamaya, the physiological body, and myself that is identified with each of these, that I am thirsty, I am hungry. This is Panchakosha. It is not I who am thirsty. Prana becomes thirsty. So, thirst, hunger is the dharma of characteristic of prana. But we take it to be I am hungry because we connect ourselves to prana. So this is what is happening. So that is why this Panchakosha Atita, I'm not this gross body, then I'm not a pranamaya, then I'm not manomaya. So I'm not mind and the five and the manomayas. Yes. So sorry, come back. So prana, with prana comes pranamaya is prana and the five organ of action. So that I am not. So what is pranamaya? The five prana and the five organ of action. That is pranamaya. The notion of me connected, the self connecting itself to prana and the five organ of actions. Hey, I am moving my hands. My hands are moving. That is pranamaya. All the kriya. Where does kriya happen? In prana. If you want to simplify. Kriya happens because of what? Prana. Prana is that vital force, right? That gives the energy for all the actions. So organ of action and the five pranas, physiological actions, they go together. Do you have that written in your notes? Pranamaya as prana and the five organ of actions.
I don't have that written, but
Check here. See here, pranamaya kaha pranadyaha. So the five pranas, pancha vayavaha and vaga indriya panchaka. So vaga indriya, vaga is speech and indriya. So organs of action. So that there it defines. So
Okay.
all the 5 prana and the organ of actions that forms the pranamaya. So this I am not. Pranamaya, this notion that I am prana, I am hungry, that I am doing this, I am moving my hand. This notion is what is keeping me away from knowing the real I. So drop that notion. Pranamaya, aham naha, I am different from it. Drop that notion that I am prana. You don't have to remove, it's not a physical removal, it's just the shift in cognition that we have to do at each of these levels of I'm not gross body and all these. Then manomaya koshakaha, this mind, manomaya, I am not. What is manomaya? Mind and the 5 organ of perception together. Mind and the 5 organ of perception. See here, manomaya koshakaha says manascha gnanendriya panchakam militva yo bhavati. So manomaya kosha. So manascha, manaha cha, and gnanendriya panchakam, the 5 gnanendriya, organ of perception. Together, militva, together they form this manomaya kosha. So drop the notion that I am sukhi, I am dukhi, I am seeing, etc. Drop these notions. Then vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya kaha? Buddhi, Gnanendriya, Panchaka, Militva. So here, Buddhi, intellect, and the organ of perception together forms what? Vijnanamaya kosha. So again, drop this Vijnanamaya, identification with Vijnanamaya. Drop that I am smart. Drop that I am the botanist. Drop that I am studying this. Tattvabodha. Who's studying this? Buddhi. Vijnanamaya is studying this Tattvabodha. Drop that idea. So you have to drop all of that idea. So then what remains? There is an Anandamaya kosha. What is that Anandamaya kosha? That I am the experiencer of happiness. So this duality. So at each point, we are trying to drop the notion of some level of duality. What is the final duality left after dropping the Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, all the Avastha, all the Pranamaya, up to Vijnanamaya? What is ultimately left? I'm the experiencer of joy. I love when I am in meditation, I love the peace that I enjoy, so I like to do it again. So that is also, you are not the experiencer of happiness. You are happiness. This is what the Tattvabodha equation wants us. You are happiness. This is the message that the author wants to tell us. So this also becomes an obstacle. That I am the experiencer, that also becomes an obstacle. So that also we need to drop. And then there we were discussing yesterday how Priyadi Vritti Sahita Sat Anandamaya. Priyadi Vritti. So what happens there? Priyadi Vritti. So Priya, Moda, Pramoda. Those are 3 level of happiness. So you can experience different degree of happiness. And then you have inclination to cling. No, my samadhi last time was not as good as the first time. Okay, let me try more. Drop that notion. You are happiness. You are not the seeker. Seeker is the sought, is the message that is being conveyed by Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi. There is no separation. You are the sought. So you have to drop all that notion of even the experiencer and experienced. So then what remains?
Don't we say, in presence of whom all these experiences are felt, that's the true Brahman?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that?
Then I thought you just mentioned it's not the experiencer of the happiness, but it is the happiness itself that's the true nature. But it's the experiencer, not the body, but in presence of whom we are experiencing all this. That's the true Atman.
There is presence of something. You are trying to say this, right?
Hmm.
There is presence of something in presence of whom everything is taking place. There is presence of rope, right? In presence of whom the experience of rope and the fear of, experience of snake and fear of snake, etc. Fear of, and then the notion of this is garland takes place. Is it real? Is the experience of snake,
No.
fear, etc. real? What is real? Only rope. So is there a duality like rope and snake duality?
No.
What is the reality of experiencer and experienced? This is going into more subtle analysis, but let us do it since we were just talking about it in our lecture just an hour ago. So what is the when does the seer, let us take the example of seer and seen. I am seeing this phone. This phone is seen. I am the seer. When does the seer come and when does the seen go? So who enters first, seer or seen?
Seer. I mean, if the scene could be there, if the seer doesn't come in, how can anything be seen?
When can I say this is seen?
When my eyes look at it, and when my the subtle body recognizes it.
So when there is a seer, with respect to a seer, this is seen.
Correct.
Right? So now, with respect to seer, this is seen. So, who comes first? Both come together and both go together. So when right now you are seeing this phone. So you are the seer and this phone is seen. Who comes first? Both come together. When I remove it, who goes first?
I guess both go.
Object.
Both goes together. Seer and seen both go together. You can park it aside because we are going into little bit more subtle things. You can park it aside. But
Okay.
The thing is, the seer and seen come together. They are both, it is not an independent reality. I mean, it is dependent. Seer is dependent on seen. Seer is a name that you agree. Seer is a name in reference to seen. And seen is a name with reference to seer.
Yeah. Yes.
Experiencer is a name with reference to experienced.
Correct.
And experience is a name with reference to experiencer.
Correct.
Both are relative. You drop both. What remains is experience. Absolute reality. This is the vision that the author wants to give, that the Upanishads wants to give. We can park the question aside and frame it so that we can discuss regarding this with Swamiji so that he can explain in better terms. I don't want to confuse you guys ultimately. But this is the Tripudi is being always talked about in Vedanta. That when the Triputi, the seer, seen, and the means of seeing, they are negated because all three are relative. When all the relative are negated, what remains is pure absolute consciousness. This is the process we want to get at. And for that, we have to understand slowly. We can't jump straight away. So we have to go slowly, step by step. So right now, we just follow what Tattvabodha is trying to teach us. What is it trying to teach us? What Atma is not. So right now, we will just focus on what is Anatma, and then we will focus on what is Atma. There is something called Atma. If you negate everything, am I zero? Am I shunyam? No, Atma remains. There is something called Atma. What is the nature of that Atma? Sat Chit Anand. That much we will gather right now. And how do we define that Sat Chit Anand? Sat is, this is important. This we should, this definition we should learn. That when it is called Atma is Sat, that Sat or truth should be understood as Kale Trayepi Tishtati, that which does not change in all period of time. That is how we should understand. And then Chit Kim. So Chit, consciousness, you should understand it as knowledge, but not knowledge of something, knowledge. Even knowledge of something has knowledge underlying in it. See, there is something called Samanya Gnana and Vishesha Gnana. General knowledge, general and specific. So when we say we are conscious of something, we have knowledge of a phone, that is a specific knowledge. That specific knowledge cannot happen unless this general knowledge, this gnanam, is. So that we will understand as we move through the, the in-depth Upanishads. But for now, gnanam, chit kim, gnana swarupa, knowledge. And anandaha kaha, sukha swarupa. So that we understand. Who am I? I am Sat, existence, who can never be, not be there. I am always there. That is said, right, in Bhagavad Gita. Hey Arjun, it was never that you were not, and never that you will never be. That all of these yodhas were never there or never will be. So that's a Sat. Kale trepi tishtati. That existence can never be denied. That fact we have to grasp out of it. Chit kim gnana swarupa. For now, gnana swarupa. Consciousness, which is of nature of knowledge. And anandaha kaha, sukha swarupa, happiness. Not the sukha vritti, but the very happiness. We can ask the question to Swamiji. I don't know whether in your notes Swamiji has addressed this sukha swarupa. Was there any discussion on difference between sukha vritti and sukha swarupa? No. We can talk about this. I'll see. We can, if somebody can just write down this question, and I will frame it somewhere. Difference between sukha swarupa and sukha vritti. So just that through the satsang, perhaps Swamiji gives more clarification if needed at this point. So, okay, this is my swarupa, Sat Chit Ananda. Then we move on to Jagat, and this is where I want to connect you to Jiva part as well. But I want to go a little bit further before I do that. So can we go further right
Can
now?
I ask you something? Can you speak little louder? I think the volume is going down.
You know, it is because my mic is dropping here. Okay. Can you
Okay,
hear
thank
me
you.
right now?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know
much
what
better.
what I will do is I will turn the volume up a little bit of the laptop. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, much better. Yeah, thanks.
Just the so okay. Um Unless there are any questions, we can go forward to Jagat. So far we have analyzed the individual of who the individual is not and who the individual is. We have done the Atma Anatma Viveka. Individual is not the Shariratraya. Individual is not the Avastatraya. Individual is not the Panchakosha. Who is he? Sat Chit Anand. That's how we have reached so far. Our conclusion. Atma Kaha. Okay, fine. I understand what I am, but now I have Jagat before me. What to do? What to do about this duality? So then this explanation starts. Okay, let me teach you what creation is, and let me teach you who created this, how he created. So the story starts. So अथ चतुर्विंशति तत्व उत्पत्ति प्रकारं वक्ष्यामः. Then the author says now I will tell you the 24 elements in how this evolution happened of the creation. ब्रह्माश्रयाः सत्त्व रजः तमो गुणात्मिका माया अस्ति. There is something called maya, which is the power, shakti, of the nature of threefold gunas, sattva, raja, tamas, which forms the ashraya of Brahma and which forms the locus. It has its locus on Brahma. Like the snake has its locus on the rope. Rope is the adhisthana upon which snake is projected. Just like that, this Brahma is the adhisthana, locus upon which this Maya rests. Or in simple term, Maya is like the magic. Whose magic? Brahma's magic. So Brahma is like the magician. Why is it called magician? Because Maya is Brahman's power. Maya is not independent reality that this is Brahman, this is Maya. When these two combine, then creation happens. No. One alone, Brahman alone, has this power called Maya. So that Shakti aspect is called Maya. So then here I would have loved the other Tattvabodha, but let's see how I can pair with just this Sanskrit thing. So what did we do say last time with the whole creation? That we have to remember. So now the Panchikaranam process is going to be explained. So in this whole even unfoldment of creation, we have to focus on how this creation is going to be described. Where is who's the creator? Brahma with Maya, and what happens to Brahma? That we have to keep our eye on. What exactly happens at each stage of creation? We have to keep an eye on that. Hey, that doesn't change. Hey, from Brahman, 5 elements came about. Hey, from Brahman, this Akash came about. What is Sambhutaha? It says Sambhuta. Sambhuta means what? Creation. Does it really get created? It says no, it doesn't get created. It just manifests. That's what it says. That's how we have to understand. When it says from Brahman, Akasha Sambhutaha, gets created, we have to understand as what? Brahman alone, Brahman with the Upadhi, with the Shakti, with the power of Maya, manifests as Akasha first. It appears as this space. So, does Brahman change? No. What kind of creation is this? It is an appearance. It is a manifestation. There is no change. Right? Any questions? Maybe what I should do is I should share the other slide. Let me share the other slide. New share. Let's do this. Okay, now I will have to highlight that first. Stop share. Wait a minute. Let me go to Swamiji's notes on this so that it becomes more helpful to all of us. Share screen. Okay, all the way to Jagat. Karanam. Jagat, there. Stop. Okay, Jagat, the universe. Now we shall explain the evolution of 24 tattvas, right? So depending on Brahman for its existence is Maya, which is of the nature of 3 guna. It is worded like that. We just have to imagine, we just have to understand Brahman is the reality and Maya is its Shakti. Maya is the Shakti of Brahma, and together this creation happens. So why this creation? So here Swamiji has made note that why does the author take such pain to describe creation? Because what is creation? It seems to be finite. It seems to be different from how the Brahman in reality is going to be told to us. What is Brahman going to be told to us? What is the understanding? Brahman is limitless, infinite. So then the question is, how can from infinite, finite or limited come from finite, from limitless? So that is why this riddle is being solved by this prakriya. So this creation is what? This explanation of creation is what? Prakriya. Whenever there is an explanation to any creation, we have to understand it is a prakriya. It is not to say that creation is real. It is just to show us how one alone can appear as many. So this is the focus of the author. This is the focus of the grantha. So that is where we have to pay our attention to. So first here itself. So this is very important PDF. If nobody has read it, please go through it. It will give you a lot of clarification. The first sentence here, Maya, it says, creation of an object can come about in 2 ways. Either as a change or modification in the substance from which it is made, or by an error in which the real thing is mistaken to be something else. So in the first example, it's a change, modification. Like the milk changes into curd. So is that kind of creation? Are we talking about that kind of creation? If that was the case, if Brahman became all this, then what would happen? Then Brahman would not remain. Then your limitless would not remain.
Yeah. From limitless, you cannot create limited.
Right? Yeah. So we are not talking about that kind of creation where there is an actual transformation. What are we talking about? We are talking about this different kind of creation, which is said as vivarta. Vivarta is a technical term, but projected. Like this rope created snake and garland and whatnot. What is that? It's a projection. The ignorance of the rope resulted in what? These different notions that this rope is snake and whatnot. So this is by this second step, now the author wants to show how the creation came about. Meaning, the creation is not real. It is not a transformation like milk into curd. Brahman is going to remain as Brahman. So Brahman is going to, at all steps, appear as something different. Brahman is going to appear as sky, and then that same Brahman, which appears as sky, then will appear as Vayu, air. That same Brahman in the form of Vayu then appears as fire. So all these stages will happen. One important thing I wanted to say, which I just got disconnected with. Got disconnected with my thought. So Brahman alone appears as this different stage. Hopefully I will remember and get back to there. But let's see what the text has to say. It was related to appearance that I wanted to say something. So basically this whole, so the text then here tells how from Brahman alone, Tatah Akashah Sambhutah. From that Maya, Akasha is born. Meaning, we should understand it as that Brahman appear or manifest as, this is what I wanted to say. Manifest as Akasha. See, like roti, chapati. We took this example yesterday, right? Or sometime, I don't know. Chapati. We take atta. So atta is the cause, Brahman. Atta is the Brahman with the Shakti of atta to stick. Now we want to create roti. So what do? From that atta, from that flour, loose flour, we start to combine it. So that one thing alone, one wheat alone appears as that powdered form. That powdered form alone appears as that rolled bowl, and that alone appears as that rolled flat chapati, and that when cooked, it alone gives that different appearance of a chapati, which we can eat now. The appearance is different in all of them. The appearance in the wheat is different from the appearance in that powdered form of wheat, the powdered flour. Is different from the atta that we prepared, the bowl. Is different from the rolled one, the rolled flat chapati that we rolled. Is different from the cooked chapati. But what is in all? Wheat. Right? So something of this sort is the author is trying to convey to us, that the appearance changes all the time, but the essence of everything is what? Wheat. Wheat is the essence of the chapati and the atta and the whatever different forms. So this was just one example that occurred to me. I'm sure there are better examples. But in the same way, all the while when this creation is described, Tatah Akashah Sambhutah. Tatah, from that Brahman with the Upadhi of Maya, this Akasha manifests. Then Akash, from that Akasha. What is that Akasha? What is that Akash? Akasha is the Brahman, that Brahman itself manifests as Akasha. So what is that Akash? It is not different from Brahman. So from Akash, when it is said Vayu is born, the same Brahman which appears as space now manifests as air. So when we say at the second step Akashad Vayuhu, from space Vayu is born, it is not that Brahman is gone. It is only Brahman in a different form, namely Akash. The Tattva of Akash still is what? Brahman with its Shakti of Maya. Brahman with its Shakti of Maya, meaning Brahman with this Sattva Rajatama, Sattva Rajas Tamas. This Shakti, that still is the basis of all the 5 elements, Akash, Vayu, Teja. So we explained for the first 2. We just have to apply it to all the other elements up to Prithvi. Any doubt? Or too heavy to digest?
I always thought from Brahman, there is no maker and the material. Everything was the same, right? Usually when we create something, you have raw material and you have the maker and an object is made. Here, there was no two things because only one thing existed, and that's Brahman. And from him manifested the universe. Where does this Maya come?
That is anirvachaniya. You know how avidya was anirvachaniya? So Maya is the 18th element. Have you heard the story of 18th element?
No.
We can ask this question to Swamiji. Where did this Maya comes from?
Why do we need to introduce Maya? I mean, there was nothing, only Brahman existed, and from him came the whole universe. That is easy to understand. Why the layer of Maya?
Only because Brahman by itself cannot create. What is Brahman? Yes, Gopaliji.
Yeah, I think what Guruji has told very clearly, Maya is the projecting power of Brahmana. It's
Yes.
the projecting power of Brahma, and from there all others are projected. And since they are projected, they're actually what is existing is only Brahman. One projects to another, another projects to another, from Maya, Sattva, Rajas, Tamagun, and then Akasha, and so on. So these are all projections. That's how we say what is true is Brahman, while all others are Mithya.
So it's not. First point is right, that Maya is the projecting power, but it's not that one projects as other. One alone projects. But Kopaliji, I think you should frame a question for this. I think yeah, you should frame a question for this so that Swamiji can explain it in a better way. I feel I will not be able to explain this exactly. There is only one projecting power, and that alone. So Maya is your mother. That Shivaji and Parvati, when they had talked about. So Brahman is the Shivji, and this Maya is the Shakti, is the Parvati ji. So that alone manifests. So that the one projecting power alone manifests as the in the different elements as the manifestation keeps on changing from one form to the other.
See, there were no two things, right? There was only one thing. There is only one thing, not was.
Even with
There is
Maya, it is
no.
only one thing.
Hmm.
Even with Maya, see, I am walking. Okay, there is sunlight. I am walking, and there is a shadow. Is there two thing or one thing?
One thing.
Me and my shadow. Are there two thing or one thing?
One.
Okay,
I mean,
me and my power to think. Are they two thing or one thing?
one.
So, what is Maya? Maya is the Shakti.
Okay.
So, Shakti and Shaktiman, this is how they phrase it. Can the power be separate from the one who possesses the power?
No.
Can magic be different and magician be different? There is a person called magician. He is called magician with respect to what? Because he possesses magic.
Mhm.
The one who possesses magic or who knows how to do the magic is called magician,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, in that sense, so Maya doesn't have its own reality.
Okay.
In fact,
Right of
Swamiji
this.
discusses this. Swamiji
Yes.
discusses this very well to see, why this Jagat is created. What is this Jagat? Is it for the entertainment of Brahman and all? And then finally, he concludes that this is just a projection. First is projecting power is Maya, and from there everything else is projected. But what is true? Truth is only Brahman, nothing else.
But how do we that's understandable. But how do we understand this? So here our this text called Tattvabodha is giving us a model. It starts with Brahma with the Maya with the ashray of Brahman. That is what is there in the beginning of the creation. And from that, everything comes about. This is how it is going to explain. How is it going to explain the creation? That from Brahman, what is born first? These 5 elements. So now what do we want to do? There is, you're right. What is there is Brahman alone. But how are we going to explain it when we are seeing this duality? So that is why the text has to come up with some explanation. That is what it is trying to do. So it is trying to make us understand that first there are these 5 elements. From these 5 elements, there are these subtle 5 elements, and that then there is a gross. That's the process it will go through, right? So all that is being done right now is it is explaining how from that Brahman, with the Brahman alone cannot create, because then it would, what would happen if Brahman alone creates? It would be it would change, right? It would become anitya. Then you can't say Brahman is limitless. It would become limited. It will be subject, anything subject to change is subject to dying, is subject to deterioration. So there will be lot of dosha. There lot of problems will arise, because we are saying Brahman is eternal, Brahman is limitless. And if we accept a change in Brahman, then Brahman cannot remain limitless. That's a fundamental problem. That is why we have to introduce a character called Maya. What is Maya? It is not an independent entity. It is Ananya. It is non-separate from Brahma. It is the power. It is the Shakti of Brahma. This is how we proceed.
Okay.
And Anirvachaniya. Again, frame your questions so that we can visit this and compile it with my 12 or so questions. So wherever we need some more clarification, let us take a note about it. So yeah, for now, we just accept that Brahman with this upadhi of Maya, it manifests as Akasha, then that Akasha manifests as Vayu, and all this transformation of manifestation of one into other, or from one another is created, third is created, etc. happens. What are we supposed to note in the evolution of 5 elements? One thing, that one Brahman alone with the upadhi of Maya is appearing in the form of space, in the form of Vayu, in the form of Teja, in the form of the rest of the 2, Apah, water, and Prithvi. This is the important element we have to see. That all along the creation so far of the 5 elements, Brahman is intact. So what are we seeing? We are seeing 5 elements. Well, let us go to subtle elements, and then we will say this is still subtle stage. So we cannot see, we cannot perceive these elements. These are in its very subtle state. Apanchikrita. So we just accept it without questioning it much. So this is the unmanifest state of these 5 elements. And then they are telling what are the corresponding guna of each of this element. That is pretty straight. I don't think we need to go much deeper into it, except just revise that Akasha Shabda. Shabda is the guna of Akasha. Air is touch, that is easy to understand. Fire, form, that we can understand, how we can see it. Water, taste is its guna. Earth, smell is its guna. So here Swamiji also mentions how hearing is the specific guna of Akasha, and all the rest it cannot. Then in air, because air is born of Akasha, so Akasha is the mother of air. So air has its own independent attribute, namely touch, as well as it borrows one of the attribute of Akash, hearing. So air can be heard and touched, but not the rest of the three. So similarly, that will happen for fire. Fire is born of air, so it will borrow two attributes, one of Akasha and one of air, and the rest. So same way it will go on. I am not going over that in much detail. So then the discussion was on the evolution of the sattva aspect. So Brahma with the upadhi of Maya, meaning with this sattva, raja, tamas guna. So now among these three, the sattva guna evolves. How does it evolve? That is being shown. That from each of the sattva guna, how one of the indriyas, organ of perception, is being manifested. So from etesham, from among these five great elements, aspect of Akasha is evolved, organ of hearing. I wonder if there is the chart where we can, right here. So Sattva aspect of Akash gives rise to ear, Vayu, ear meaning the Gnanendriya, not this ear, not the gross ear, but the Gnanendriya, the organ of the faculty of hearing. This Akash gives rise to faculty of hearing. Vayu gives rise to the faculty of touch. Agni gives rise to the faculty of perception. Apaha. So this is how we have to understand. So meaning what? When we understand this, that each of the sattva aspect of these elements gave rise to a particular organ of perception, what do we understand? What was Akash? Not different from Brahman. Brahman with the upadhi of Maya alone manifested as Akash.
Yeah.
And now Akash has this three guna. So will Brahman be different? Brahman will still remain, right? So that Brahman with the sattva aspect will get manifested in the organ of hearing. So what is our organ of hearing then?
Brahman.
This is where Ishwar comes. We take it as individual, but this is where Ishwar comes. This is where the connection. So we take this as Atma. This is where the connection of Brahman comes. That consciousness, that limitless. So the same Brahman from the Akash, it manifests, appears in this Indriya, in this Shrotrendriya, the faculty of hearing. The same way we have to translate that same Brahman appears in all of these faculties. So this is the important element we don't have to miss. How at each stage that Brahman alone is being translated. So this is done. So now we come to Antahkaran. What is Antahkaran? From the Samashti Satvika Ansh of all the five elements, this Antahkaran, namely mind, is formed. Is there a better picture somewhere? No. No. But okay. So we don't have a doubt in that, right? From the samashti aspect of all these five elements, the mind, antahkarana, is formed. Okay. Now each of these elements is what? Each of the five elements was what? What
Brahman.
did it? Brahman. So when they combine together to form or appear or manifest as antahkarana, what is antahkarana going to be?
Brahman.
Right. So don't miss this fact. So one alone, one Brahman alone appears as this Antakaranam or manifests, created as Antakaranam. Then what is Antakaran? That explanation is given. Antakaran is this fourfold mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. So is it like Antakaran is one and then four aspects? One is called man, buddhi, chit, ahankar. They say no. These four are the functional names. Like one woman gets name of wife, daughter, they're functional names. So also Antakaran is one alone. Based on the function it does, it gets the name of man. If it does sankalpa, vikalpa, if I'm doubting, should I do that? Should I do that? Should I do Bhagavad Gita? Should I do Upanishad? Should I do Ishavasya Upanishad first or should I do Kena Upanishad first? Sankalpa Vikalpa. So that functional name, right? Mana. Then Buddhi. Is this Nishchayatmika Buddhi? When I decide, that is Buddhi. Okay, no, I will do Bhagavad Gita and I will do Kathopanishad. I decide based on some factors. So that is function. Deciding factor is Buddhi. That doubting factor or that where mind goes from one or other state, that is mind. Chitta, chintanam, when I'm doing analysis, that is called chitta. And ahankara, when I'm identifying with something that I am doing this, that is ahankara. Important thing here, so we already said that antakarana is what? Brahman. So now if antakaran is this mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankar, then what is my mind? What is my buddhi? What is my chitta? What is my ahankar? Brahman.
Yeah.
So far we have arrived at this, that this is Brahman. So now remember when we did Atma Anatma Viveka, what did we do? Sthula Sharira Aham Na, Sukshma Sharira Aham Na. Maybe I should park this aside because we still have to do the Panchikaranam process and then we will arrive at this. So, okay, the Man, Buddhi, Ahankara, these are the functional names. Ahankarta. So, the one more important thing Swamiji mentioned is in these four functions, one is the karta, one is the doer, and the other three are the instruments. The buddhi, mana, chitta are the karanam, and one is karta, one is the doer, the one who takes the ownership that I am doing. How does it take the ownership? By associating with the mind, intellect, and chittam, analysis. Ahankar or the notion of is always present at all the time. See, here it is mentioning. While the three faculties, manas, buddhi, and chitta, come and go, that is, they replace each other. Sometimes I'm thinking, sometimes I'm vacillating, should I do this or that? Then I decide, then I do a more analysis. So this is always it's subject to coming and going. But what remains? Hey, I am thinking, should I do that or that? Hey, I have decided this. Hey, I'm doing the analysis. So that ahankara is always connected all the time. That's what is being highlighted here. Okay, so then all of these have their presiding deities. Did we go over this yesterday? Anyways, even though I felt as if I went
Very little we did, yeah.
It's okay, fine. We can. It's a discussion, so it's good. So in all of these, there are presiding deity, which are as mentioned here. Mana has Chandrama, Buddhi has Brahmaji, Ahankara has Rudra, Chitta has Vasudeva as presiding deity. So what do we take from this? There is this individual, what we call mind, Antakaran, and there is this Devata, all these devas. So there is a connection between this individuality and what we call this cosmic world. So this is what we have to gather from it. Even in this, what we call individual I, only when that devata shines within my personality, then I am able to perceive you all. When am I able to perceive you all? When those devata of the particular indriya or the particular antakaran, they shine, they bless me. When those devata bless me, then I am able to do the particular function of seeing, of talking, of whatever, and of analyzing, deciding, of identifying, yes, this is I am. So there is that connection. So we are not disconnected parts. The part is connected with the whole. That is something to keep in background. So then comes the evolution of Rajas aspect. I guess we will try to complete this and for 10 more minutes. When did we start? 5:30, right?
Yes.
I should really, you all have energy so far. But anyways, so let's complete this aspect. Evolution of Rajas aspect. Okay. So Rajas aspect of what? The 5 elements. We are talking about the 5 elements, which manifested from what? Brahman. So Brahman. So now from its Rajas aspect, what happens? All the karmendriya, organ of actions, that manifest. So what do we have to understand? That the same Brahman in those 5 elements, they manifest as these 5 organ of action. Where? In me. In me. Are they me? No. We discarded it that this is anatma. But where do we find it? Here. Same
Yes.
Brahman. Same Brahman. Right? That's the important part. Same Brahman. Now, from these Rajas aspect of the 5 elements, manifest as these respective 5 organ of actions, which I am not going to go over in detail. We can review it on our own. So Vayu, the hands are from the Vayu aspect. From Akasha, what is it? The Vag, speech is from Akash. Hands are from Vayu. Then feet are from Vakni, fire. What else? Upastha, etc. Reproductive organs from earth and evacuation, etc. from the element earth. Then etesham samashti rajasamshat pancha pranaha. So our pranaha are manifestation of the combination of the rajas amsha of all of them. So again, Brahman is there in all of them. So Brahman is also manifested in the prana. So all along, so far, we see Brahman, how Brahman is pervading everything. This is what the author wants to show. The author doesn't want to show how the creation happened. The author wants to show how one Brahman alone manifests into these 5 elements, and from these 5 elements into these organ of perception and organ of action. Just as how one wheat alone manifested as the flour and the atta and the chapati, and that is a limited example, but it's the same way. It's going through the different forms, and we are being digressed by giving importance to the form, missing the underlying Brahman. So we are made to focus on that element. Hey, look at that unity in diversity. What is that unity? Brahman. Brahman is that unity. Okay, so we see this. So now the evolution of tamas aspect, the panchikaranam process. Do we have to go this over again? Or can we just say how the panchikaranam happened? So each of the subtle element gets divided into two, and that one half is retained, the other half gets divided into four. To the four, the other four rest of the elements join. So this final form with 50% of one element and the rest of the other elements, 1/8 of the other elements, is the gross element space, the gross element air, gross element fire. So it's a combination of all the elements, but in such a way that the predominant percentage is of that particular element. So when this panchikaranam happens, does the Brahman remain or not?
Yes.
Why? Because it is from the same elements, right? So the Brahman still remains. Even in apanchikrita, which was not grossified, which was subtle, Brahman still remained. And even after combination, it still remains. Even after adding the one flower with other flower, there are different kind of wheat flour. One is coarse and one is fine. You add it in combination, it still remains wheat. So also everything still remains Brahman. Even in the solid form, it was wheat. Even in powder form, it is wheat. So also here also we have the same situation. So that's it. In Panchikrita, this is what we have to understand, that Brahman is all along the same. Fine. From that Panchikrita element,
Now it's the 5 elements plus the tamasic guna, right?
Yes. Yes. So this is evolution of the tamas aspect. In the evolution of tamas aspect, we discuss this Panchikaranam process. That combination of 5 elements happens in this tamas aspect. So from this, the individual body and the cosmic body is created. That is what it says.
The 5 elements, are we saying the air that we experience, the sound that we hear is after the tamasic panchikaranam effect?
Yes.
Okay. So then before the tamasic effect, the pure 5 elements are not what we experience at all. They're just concepts.
They are unmanifest, we can say.
Unmanifested. Okay.
It is unmanifest. So it is subtle form, but how do we say subtle? Unmanifest. So unmanifest in the sense they are not available for perception. So only after it has gone this this evolution, the Panchikaranam process, then it is available for our experience. So whatever we experience, these the 5 elements we experience right now are the Panchikruta, the gross 5 elements. That is what we experience. So, okay, so we are here, and then from here, Pinda, we already mentioned that from this, the gross 5 elements, the individual body, etc., this is created, right? So here I wanted to go back, I think. So what is this Pinda now? Brahman? Is this Pinda Brahman or not?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, so now when we did our analysis of Atma Kaha, what did we do? Stula Sharir Na, right? It is Bhinna from Stula Sharir, Bhinna from subtle body. It is Bhinna from, we just need to do all these 3 first. This is what we said. Atma is not this. So what is that Stula Sharir? Is that we said this is not Atma, and this is Atma. So what to do with this Sthula Sharir? Is Atma one entity and Anatma different entity? So they are saying no. So this is what we discussed today in the lecture as well. So when we are doing this analysis, what is happening is where there is two, we are seeing one, right? We don't separate that this is body, this is mind. We just take the entire thing as Prachi. So first, the author has to show us that no, what you say body is different from what you are, what you say mind, etc. is different from what you call you. So first you have to separate it. Then what? Then we have to reconcile. Then we have to swallow everything. This is the second step that the author and the Upanishads, all the text does to show how there is one alone. Because we have to prove non-duality, Advaita. If Atma and Anatma both are real, how are we going to prove non-duality? So this process, what is now this Sharira, cosmic Sharira? Brahman. Right? Sorry. What is this gross body? What is the Sthula Sharir which I said I am not? What is that Sthula Sharir? Brahman. The Sukshma Sharir which I said I am not. What is that Sukshma Sharir? Brahman. Okay. This Jagat, what is that Jagat? All this Jagat, the objects that I see, what is that? Brahman. When it is said cosmic body, what is cosmic body? It is just this Jagat, the diversity that I see. All the sentient, insentient, everything. Okay? So everything is Brahman now? Have we reached? Everything except me is Brahman? Everything except me? Are we there yet? See, so now we have reached to this point. So far what we did Atma Anatma Vivek, that this is Atma, Satchit Anand is Atma, and other than that Stula Sharir I am not, that is not Atma, this I am not, this I am not. Then we question, but I am experiencing this diversity. How do we explain that? So this whole model of creation was explained that look, one Brahman alone manifested as these five elements that manifested as into
Your voice is going down again.
that manifested as these subtle elements, subtle five elements, and as this gross five elements, and that alone into this individuality, what you call gross body, what you call subtle body, is what? Nothing else but Brahman.
Brahman.
So now we are left with two duality. So we boil down all the duality to Brahman. This is what is being done. This is
Yes.
what author wants to do. Author wants to boil down all the duality, all the atta, wheat, chapati, the shape, and the actual chapati into what? Wheat. So all of this diversity of Jagat and what you call Sthula Sharir, Sukshma Sharir is what? Brahman. Who are you? Atma. Two entity, Atma and Brahman. Okay, so now how to understand that? So then goes further.
Okay, so we're trying to now say Atma is Brahman. Because I said, I'm not this body, I'm not all this, I'm Atma. And then we also said the Jagat is all coming from Brahman. So we understand Brahman, we understand Atma. Now we have to equate the two.
Tattvamasi, right. So this, whenever there is description of creation, that is the description unfoldment of Tatpada, what we call Tatpada, means Ishwar. So Ishwar, the Swarupa of Ishwara is being unfolded. First, the Swarupa of Jiva was being unfolded. So when that unfold, in the process of the unfoldment, what the conclusion came to? Atma is Satchit Anand. Satchit Anand means unchanging reality. That is what it will boil down to. So Tvam pada, as we understand, Prachi, as I understand, is a combination of a body, mind, etc. So I have to be shown, no, not the Prachi as you, not the Tvam as you understand yourself is Tat. That has to be shown. You have to drop the dress of the gross body, subtle body, causal body. And then the changeless awareness that remains, that you are. We want to equate that changeless to the Tatpada. Okay, what is Tatpada? So that Tatpada was described. So this process of creation, what is being done? The Tatpada, the Ishvara is being described. Ishvara and Jagat, the creator and the created, that is being described.
Yeah.
Is it too much? Do we want to take a stop here? Or do we want to complete the line of thought?
I think we should complete it.
We should at least complete the line of thought. Okay. So this is what the author did. Okay, so I'm going to skip about this Ishwar and Adhishtana Devatas unless, let us see.
Yeah, we can skip that.
So we know that there are the presiding deity in each of these things, in each of our organ of action and organ of perception and Antakaran. So Jeev and Ishvara, that is main topic, right?
Yeah.
So far duality. So now I have the duality that is left before me is of this, what I call Atma and the Brahman, or Jiva and Ishvara. So what is Jiva and what is Ishvara? I told you what is Tvam Pada and Tat Pada in the first place. Here it is explained. I guess I did a shortcut, but here if we read, what is Jiva? Stula Sharira Abhimani Jiva Namakam Brahma Pratibhimbam Bhavati. And you can go to your notes as well on this, because I have not read any of these lectures. I still have to listen to it. But what is Jiva? The one, the consciousness, awareness. See, we did the Viveka. Stula Sharir, I am not. Sukshma Sharir, I am not. Causal body, I am not. What remains? The changeless awareness remains. Right? That is my real Swarupa. That is my reality. That is the reality of Tvam-pada. That reality, when it gets identified with gross body, that I am this gross body, I am this subtle body, that is called Jiva. That awareness identified with the Stula Sukshma, that we are all clear, right? That is Jiva. What is that Jiva? Brahma Pratibhimbam Bhavati. So now the process of how Jiva is different, not different from Ishvara. So another Prakriya. What is the Prakriya shown now? Now the Prakriya of Pratibimb, the model of reflection, is being used to tell us how Jiva is not different from Brahman. What is Brahman? Hey, look, Brahman is like that sun. You see that sun? How that is getting reflected in that bucket of water? Hey, in that bucket of water, there's a reflection of sun. Hey, that reflection is so tiny. Hey, that sun, the sun is so huge. How can that reflection be that, But what is happening? What is Jiva? Jiva is that sun alone. That sun alone, when it looks in that bucket of water and identifies, oh my God, I'm so small, and looks at another bucket of water, oh, that one is so big. I have to become big. Where does that come from? From that sense of I am only this much. And let's say the water was dull, then it is not shining. Hey, I'm dull. And then there is that, the example of Manisha Panchakam, the Ganges water, clean water, the sun reflected in it. How it says, I'm so bright. and the one saying, identifying in that gutter, water of the gutters, etc. It says, I'm so dull. I'm maleen. I'm contaminated, and I am pure. Is sun pure?
Yes.
Sun contaminated?
No.
No. So what is Jiva? Jiva is our notion. Jiva is the notion of the sun that I am contaminated. If that sun looks at that reflected, looks at its reflection and comes to the conclusion that I am so small, I am pure, or I am so big, I am contaminated, then what is it? It is its notion. It is not its reality. Then uh, what do we have to do? Somebody has to point out, hey sun, oh sun, you are not that Tattvam Asi. You are in the process of becoming. Okay, let me rewind. Tattvamasi came too early. Oh sun. So see, the sun is getting this inferiority complex that I am impure. So what will it try to become? It will try to become pure. It will try to become. But what is sun? Is it impure? It's not impure. It is just a concept in its mind because of wrong identification. How did that wrong identification came about? Because of not knowing itself that it is sun. It is not that reflection. It is not limited. It is not dull. Because of not knowing itself, it is taking itself to be reflection. So also what is happening is, because of not knowing that I am Brahman, what happens is, in this subtle body, Brahman gets reflected, as though reflected. Okay, as though reflected. Wherever there is subtle body, there is reflection of consciousness or Chaitanyam, which is Brahman. Brahman as though gets reflected, and what happens? Because our upadhi, our antahkarana, is limited, like that limitation of bucket. So the self, the consciousness, the sun identified with that bucket of water takes it to be impure or limited. Same way, the self identified with a particular upadhi of mind, subtle body, takes it to be only so and so, takes it to be limited because of the limitations of upadhi. The limitations are there. Where? In the bucket of water, in the reflecting medium. The limitations are there in the reflecting medium. The water is dull or dirty and pure. Right? Even the reflection is not dirty. Even the reflection is not dirty. The upadhi, the reflecting medium, is different. Reflecting medium is different. There is absolutely no change or no duality in Brahman. So because the reflecting medium are different, so the reflection appears different. And the self identified with each of the reflection takes it to be different. That's how duality arises. For this, Swamiji gives a very good example of a dog. There is a palace. There was a king who had a palace. He liked to look at himself. So he had a palace in which there was a special room where there were a lot of mirrors, lot of different mirrors. One was concave and convex and all different kind of mirror. So he had a dog, and he never let this dog enter this room. But one time the door was left somehow open and the dog entered. And what did he see? He saw many dogs. Did he see many dogs? He
No.
saw many reflections. So this is the end. And then what did he took? He took all of those reflections as real and ended up fighting with it and ended up being killed or injured, whatever. So this is the story of our life, namely Jiva, namely each of us. We are looking at the reflection, and that reflection is different in each of us. I see Rachita ji different from Lalit ji, as different from Kopali ji, from different from all of us. Why? Because I'm seeing at the reflection which is getting reflected where? In my subtle body. That subtle body is different.
Wow.
So this is where we are going. Right? So we are being told, no, don't identify yourself with the reflecting medium. So learn to separate. How will we learn to separate? That is why this Atma and Atma Vivek. Right? That is why Sthula Sharir I am not, Sukshma Sharir I am not. These are all Upadhi. You are different from it. You are awareness. What is that Brahman? That Brahman also, you call it creator, creation, based on your understanding that this is creation. There is creation, creator is a standpoint. So there is cotton. From cotton, this fabric is made. This is also another example I'm borrowing from this retreat. From cotton, this fabric is made. So what is cotton? Upadana karanam, the cause, material cause of this fabric. So cotton is the creator and this is created. Now, what is the property of this cotton? It is breathable. So we think always that the attributes of the effect comes from the cause. This is what we think. So when we look at this fabric, what is this fabric? It is an effect. Effect of what? Of the cause. What is its cause? Cotton. Cotton is its cause. So what is this fabric? Breathable. Where does this breathability come from?
Cotton.
Is cotton breathable? The cotton itself, is it breathable? Where is breathability coming from? It is the thread count, right? It is the way this fabric is woven, that the space in between the yarns or threads, whatever you call, that gives rise to the feeling of breathability. So breathability, is it coming from cotton? No. So it is a concept, right? What I'm getting at is how we always think that whatever are the properties of the effect is coming from the cause. Breathability of this fabric, is it coming from cotton? No. What is breathability? It is a concept. In the same way, creator is a concept. Why? Because we are so attached to this effect. We are looking at this diversity and we are taking that diversity as real, not understanding that all the while when we are looking at it, what is all this? We are not resolving it to its cause. What is the cause? 5 elements. What are those 5 elements? Brahman. Nothing but Brahman. All the while when we are eating the chapati, we are eating nothing but wheat. So also all the while when we are interacting with all of us right now, what are we interacting with? Who is interacting with? Brahman alone is interacting with Brahman. There is no other thing. So we are so bogged up with the effect and the duality and the diversity. We are giving diversity so much a reality that we are missing the underlying, the one reality because of which this duality appears. Like the one gold because of which the different ornaments manifest or appears. This is the message that Tattvabodha is trying to give us. That Sthula Sharira Abhimani Jiva Namakam Brahma Pratibimba. Hey, what you call Jiva is that Brahman alone identifying with that Pratibimba of itself. It's not that Brahman is different and Jiva is different and Atma is different. One consciousness alone. On account of this. स एव जीवः प्रकृत्या स्वस्मात् ईश्वरं भिन्नत्वेन जानाति. Why does he take itself as different? Avidya upadhi san atma jiva iti uchyate. On account of this upadhi of avidya, ignorance, karana sharira. Because of this karana sharira, namely avidya, namely ignorance, this is the illusion we are messed up with. What do we have to do? We have to remove ignorance. What is ignorance? Not knowing my true self, not knowing the reality, not knowing that Brahman is the reality of everything. So how do I remove avidya? By knowing it. By seeing where I see duality, I have to now see how one alone is appearing as this multifaceted diversity. So where the error is, there alone we have to point and say that, hey, where you are seeing snake, that is rope. That is what we have to do. Right? So Maya, Avidya, Upadhi, San, Atma, Jiva. So that consciousness, the same consciousness, awareness that we arrived at by negation, stula, stu, etc. That along with the upadhi, that when identified with the upadhi of avidya, ignorance, is called jiva. And maya upadhi san ishvareti uchyate. Not any other entity. The same awareness when identified, associated with maya. What is maya? Combined total ignorance of all the subtle bodies, of all the jiva. The total ignorance of all the upadhi, of my ignorance, Rachitaji's ignorance, Lalitji's ignorance, Kopaliji's ignorance, everybody's ignorance combined, that is called Maya. With this upadhi, the same consciousness is called Ishvara. What is Ishvara? Totality. So Ishvara is what we call God, all-knowing. Ishvara has this attribute. See, conscious Brahman is different from Ishvara. Brahman is, when we say Brahman, we have to understand it as pure consciousness, attributeless, the same consciousness as we discover as Atma when we do the Tvam Pada Shodhana. Same consciousness is Brahman. Brahman is the same consciousness, but when it is endowed with condition with the upadhi of Maya, meaning the totality of total ignorance, then it is called Ishvara.
Say that again. Can you say Brahman and Ishvara?
So what is Ishvara? Brahman, the consciousness, the same consciousness that I am right now.
Chidananda.
Chidananda, with the upadhi, with the conditioning of Maya. What is Maya? Total ignorance. It's a combined total ignorance of all the jivas. That is called Ishvara, meaning the Saguna Brahma. Ishvara is Saguna Brahma here.
Okay.
Meaning with Brahman with attributes is what we call Ishvara. Meaning all knowing, all pervading, the Sarvagnatva, omnipotent, omnipresence, all the different omni, whatever uh, the attributes that apply only to Ishvara, that applies only to Ishvara. So Ishvara is also an upadhi. Jiva is also an upadhi. When we do this Tvam Padashodhanam, Tat Padashodhanam, when we negate all the upadhi angsha, upadhi aspect, what remains is pure consciousness. So when we are told Tattvamasi, all the way we are doing the steps, we are doing this analysis, and then we are reaching this pure consciousness, and then we are told Tattvamasi. Not the Jeev as it is Ishvara. Ishvara also we have to drop the omniscience, omnipotent, all those characteristics has to be dropped. Because wise person is not going to be omniscient, omnipotent, and need not be. We need not be Ishwar. We just have to be realize ourselves as pure consciousness. For what? For Jivan Mukti. What do we want? Jivan Mukti. We want to be free from this shoka and moha, this sorrow, unhappiness, identification, and sense of limitation, sense of helplessness. That is what we want to get rid of. For that, what do we do? What do we do? We identify the reality of ourself, the reality of Ishvara, the reality of Jagat. What is that? Non-duality. So what will happen then? We will not look at creation as creation. If you ask this, you see cotton as the material cause of this fabric from the standpoint of what? Fabric. From the standpoint of cotton, what is there? I alone am. Cotton alone is. Where is the fabric? Is fabric different than cotton? It's another manifestation of cotton. Has cotton vanished?
No.
So when cotton is seen in another form called, okay, I have to go now, but okay.
Okay.
I will just finish this line and then I have to go. So when we, so it is the standpoint that we have to change. So all along Tattvamasi, when we are told this, it is the standpoint that we have to make. The shift has to be in the cognition. Things are going, even after knowledge, things are going to remain same as they are. Creation is going to appear the same. The shift is supposed to be in our cognition. That I stop perceiving it as different and I pay attention to the underlying cotton in the fabric. I pay attention to the underlying one material cause, one Brahman alone, how that manifested as these five elements, how one Brahman alone manifested as these whole creation. I remind myself of it. That's the whole purpose of creation, describing this prakriya of creation. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I have to end. We went for 3 hours, but we'll see what we can do. Perhaps we can take one more Monday to end this topic before starting a new one. I'll just say the prayers because I have to rush. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Okay, Hari Om.
Hari Om.